Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today's video is about the Asus Z13 refresh. Now, for those of you that follow my channel, you already know I picked up the ACRNM back in July of 2023, and I absolutely adore it. I've always wanted a Surface Pro style tablet 2-in-1, but of course Microsoft has never delivered a power user device quite like this, and certainly not with this styling. But all of that aside, we've got a 13th gen Intel Core i9 processor, 32 gigs of RAM, an NVIDIA RTX 4070 with 8 gigs of VRAM. I upgraded the internal NVMe SSD to a 2 terabyte drive, and this thing really just checks every single box. It's a little over 2 pounds. The keyboard leaves a little bit to be desired, no question about that. Battery life is really its Achilles. Asus introduced this wall adapter, which still allows you to have full performance with the Z13 lineup. Of course, that's the 2023, 2024 models. And what I love about this is that you just plug it into the wall, and then you've got, as I mentioned, full power delivery to your ACRNM or any other Z13 model, but you can still charge all of your devices. So it's really taken the Z13 lineup to a truly, I think, portable dream device. Granted, battery life still is not its forte. And with the new lineup of Z13s, they've shifted over to AMD architecture, and the processor is absolutely amazing. Integrated GPU rather than discrete like the previous gen, and a much larger power brick, but I'm expecting great battery life from those units. But I do see it as somewhat of a step backwards because, well, bigger power brick and no discrete GPU options. And that is why you're about to see me unbox the XG Mobile 4090. And I know many of you are thinking that's insane. Who in their right mind would ever pick one of these up, even if you want ultimate portability? The 4090 from last gen, I did just scoop this on sale for a little over $1,200 US. And I think that if you can get this close to $1,000 and you own a Z13 or an Ally, not the latest, most expensive Ally because it does not have the XG Mobile port anymore, then this might be a no-brainer for you. And I say that because based on what I've seen with the new 5000 series GPUs, they are great, but we are not seeing the massive performance and efficiency jump that we did with the 4000 series GPUs. And what that amounts to is that for someone like me who plans to keep their ACRNM, because it is still the most powerful device of its kind, even in the face of the refresh I've been talking about, what it means is that you're still going to have something that's going to be not just competent, but top of the line for some years to come. Now, I'm trying to figure out why this is not opening. Bear with me. I will get it, I promise. Here we go. And I'm going to explain to you my logic here because, of course, the XG Mobile has been refreshed. There's a new lineup. They're going to have a 5090 model, and it's Thunderbolt 5. Immediately, that is so much more interesting than a proprietary system like this. But there is a catch to that, which is that with something like the ACRNM, because we only have Thunderbolt 4 and not Thunderbolt 5, it's actually, if I were to pair the 5090, the new eGPU unit that supplants this, replaces it, which on paper is better than this in literally every way, because again, proprietary cable here that only works with the previous Gen Z13s, 2 generations back, I believe is where it started, and the Allies, the mobile handsets, that is the biggest limitation of this. You're kind of dead at the door with the last gen. But it will use 8 PCIe lanes, excuse me. So what that really means, as I put this down, is that, in theory, the performance using my ACRNM and this device should easily outperform pairing my ACRNM with the new 5090. And if I had to guess, I'll take it a step further and say that even they're going to be relatively close, and yes, that would create a upgrade pathway away from the ACRNM, so that if I want to get the 2 years down the road, the next refresh of the Z13, if Asus keeps making it, I would still have the 5090 version of this device to pair with whatever that new computer is, or any other computer that sports Thunderbolt 5, which again is great conceptually. I have to tell you, 2 years down the road, I expect the 6000 series to be a leap, not an incremental step like I'm considering the 5000 series GPUs right now. A lot of people were waiting and hoping that the 5000 series was going to deliver something breakthrough, and it doesn't seem to be doing that in the desktop or the mobile space. Of course, I'll be reviewing 5000 series architecture out the wazoo eventually, but for right now, I couldn't pass this up. I've always wanted one of these, and when I saw that Amazon had the sale going on, it just, as well as Best Buy, momentarily, although Best Buy rarely has inventory on these, it just was something where I didn't have to think about it because I knew what performance was like on this for the last year. Again, this is not for everyone, and most of you will probably, again, scoff at it and say, we all know what it's capable of. It's just a mobile 4090 that gets 150 watts. The total eGPU dock here is 330 watts, has its own built-in power supply. And yeah, it's easy to say, like, for this amount, you could build a desktop or put it towards a new gaming laptop. But if, like me, you're already in on something like this or any of the Z13 models, this add-on, if you can get it close to the price I did, instantly turns that Z13 or Ally into a full-blown desktop. Because even at 150 watts, as long as you're not trying to do full HD, high refresh, or 1440, and like me, you're a 4K gamer, this thing is going to perform at essentially close to 4080 desktop level gameplay and rendering, photo editing, video editing, everything. So it may get loud, I'm going to find out, but it at least promises to deliver something that, again, at its price, I think is highly coveted. The 4090 was an amazing chip to become mobile last generation, and I say that because it really ushered in performance that was zero compromise. If, like me, you were a content creator and gamer that wanted best in class, this is where you finally got it. And while traveling with these two items would obviously make this close to the same weight as a gaming laptop, top tier 4090 laptop, the price still doesn't get there. Because yes, this was $2,500 at launch, and this was $2,000 at launch. I did not pay $2,000 for this, as you know. That's where I think if you're spending $4,500, you could make the argument that you'd rather have an all-in-one singular machine, but you'll never get this weight class and flexibility that is offered here. And I'll show you. I mean, part of the logic here, again, remember, 8 PCIe lanes. I have that capability here. I expect this to be a solid pairing as long as the ACRNM holds up for at least another 3 to 4 years. I feel like this is easily a bridge through the 5000 series GPUs. But we have Type-C connectivity. We have 3 Type-A ports, HDMI 2.1, DisplayPort 1.4, and an Ethernet port, and then, of course, the power port for the eGPU module. Would I have liked this to be a full-blown true 4090? Yes, but anyone who looks at this and thinks you can stick a 4090, a power supply, and hub in here really doesn't know anything about computers. So when you think of this, though, in terms of what eGPUs from days past were trying to accomplish, and I've got a 3080 and a Razer enclosure right here, this thing is friggin' brilliant because it's doing everything that Razer tried to do. I'm having a lot of trouble with the plastic over here, but it's putting it in a much more compact form factor. It's making it something that can travel, which is not something the Razer ever could do. I mean, not comfortably at least. And then on top of all of that, it is really transforming whatever you've connected it to into a full-blown PC. Those Thunderbolt enclosures for GPUs historically really don't give you proper I/O. They just give you the ability to leverage a full-blown desktop-class GPU with a mobile platform, which is always a bottleneck. And that's why gaming with this at full HD or even 1440 res, the CPU, GPU is going to be a bottleneck made in hell. So be aware of that. You do not want to get this for full HD or 1440. I mean, 1440 will be better than full HD gaming, but just be aware that if, like me, you like the value proposition this presents, and by the way, I will link this in the description, the ACRNM no longer available, but the value proposition, again, for anyone who has last gen Z13, the Intel version, I think this is just brilliant if you want to step up your performance and extend the longevity of your current system. Now, on the other hand, if you're really unhappy with the ACRNM or any other, the 4050 or 4060 model of the Z13, it's time to move on, because that is the promise of the new AMD-based unit. We don't have a discrete GPU anymore, but what we do have is an integrated GPU that has phenomenal performance. From what I've seen, it does place somewhere between 4050, 4060 performance overall. Asus is claiming it can get close to the 4070 performance you would find here. I'll believe it when I see it, and I have not seen it yet. In fact, all of the early previews from creators, they are not allowed to actually give true benchmark battery life. It's all limited at this point. So we'll see how that shakes out. But what we do know is exactly how this will perform with this. And in a perfect world, again, I'm not going to get Legion 9i performance, but I'm going to get very close to Legion 7i performance. And when you think about what this all weighs and even now costs, remember, those of you who maybe got a Z13 for a little over $1,000 rather than the $1,500 or $1,600 or even $1,700 retail that they carry, or an Ally, which I think now is selling for like $450, this does turn it into a 4K gaming monster. So pairing a $450 Ally with this under $2,000, well under $2,000, is a really compelling combination for those of you that are interested. Of course, I favor something like this, where you have a 13.5-inch display and really a true computing experience independent of this. Of course, the Ally and other handhelds do not, in my opinion, give you, they are PCs, but not practical for work or any other traditional computing performance or jobs in general. So again, you now know why I picked this up, especially with DLSS support and the AI, all of the benefits that 4000 architecture is getting as a product of the development of 5000, which I have to say looks a lot like leaning in to frame generation and all of that, even more, less than, again, really flexing hardware performance and really improving architecture. That is why I decided to pick this up. So again, I love what the new XG Mobile looks like. I love what the new Z13 lineup looks like. But as someone who knows the performance I already have with this and knows what to anticipate pairing it with the 4090 XG Mobile, even the obsolescence of this port doesn't concern me. I mean, obviously, in the face of hardware failure, it does. If my ACRNM were to die, that would mean I wouldn't be able to really use this with anything other than getting another Z13 or an Ally. So that's the downside to be aware of. But again, when compared to the new hardware, which is infinitely more expensive, I think the 5090 is going to be $2,300, $2,200 US dollars. And then the actual new Z13, which it's great that you can get up to 128 gigs of shared RAM. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, here 32 was the cap, and obviously if you went with anything under the ACRNM, you were stuck with 16 gigs of system memory. So, the 8 gigs of VRAM here is unlocked by this, because this guy has 16 gigs. But again, that's the beauty of the new AMD unit, is that not only should the efficiency be great, but we'll see. We don't know what battery life is like yet, but we've got performance that rivals, discrete GPUs with integrated, and that is wild. What I really don't like, I already mentioned. Here we had true mobility, and with the new Z13, it's got like a 200-watt power brick now. So they've went in the complete opposite direction. They kept the 13.5-inch tablet form factor, improved the keyboard, gave us a much better processor, but arguably a step back in the portability sense. And it's a total head-scratcher that the new XG Mobile, as I mentioned, is Thunderbolt 5, but even the new Z13s were not deployed with Thunderbolt 5. So be aware, it's very much a future-thinking product, and to me, I'd rather wait until all of that is mature to give them that big check, especially when it's possibly not going to even deliver better performance than this pairing. And I probably should have said that right at the top of the video. It is very possible that the latest Gen Z13 with the 5090 XG Mobile, because it does not use, it doesn't have the bandwidth throughput that this guy has, and is going to be relegated to Thunderbolt 4, it is questionable whether or not this pairing will be outperformed by much, if at all, on the new hardware. So we're going to find out. We don't know yet. That's another reason I took the risk on this, and we're going to see. But overall, I think what Asus is doing is really cool. I love that they moved away from the proprietary port. I just wish there wasn't such a compelling reason to still consider it here in 2025. But we're going to find out. And if I do find out that the new XG Mobile 5090 through Thunderbolt 4 can really outperform this, and the price gap isn't as big as it is right now, which is literally $1,000 more for the 5090, then I probably would end up returning this in favor of getting the 5090. Food for thought for all of you out there. This is not going to replace a desktop 5090 or a desktop 4090, but remember, you're getting true close to 4080 desktop performance, really more like 3090 Ti desktop performance in this little breakout box, which is amazing. So you've heard enough of a rant from me. The last thing I will say, the only other compelling thing about the 5090 XG Mobile is, of course, DisplayPort 2.1. I have a Samsung 57-inch ultra-wide. It supports 8K at 240 hertz. Many of you know my 4090 cannot drive that, no DisplayPort 2.1. This, of course, doesn't have it. Wish it did. That is the only other reason I would really consider picking up the 5090 XG Mobile. It would give me that ability. But we all know in the real world, do you want to drive an 8K 240 hertz experience with one of these, or a true 5090? Or maybe a true 5080 even. So that rounds things out. Excited to start testing this. Tell me what you think. Is this something you would consider? I know most people are selling their ACRNM and selling their XG Mobile. I think that's a little bit of a rushed decision, and it's exactly what marketing is there to make you feel. That fear of missing out, thinking you've got to upgrade. And yeah, I think this is the way to go. But let me know what you think in the comments. Again, this is not meant to replace a desktop. So before anybody starts saying, hey, I'd rather put that into a desktop, please think in terms of mobile computing, because this is not a desktop, but it does give you the flexibility to treat it like one. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe, and please stay safe. Later.